Have you been feeling particularly frustrated lately? It's harder to get your thoughts out into words. It's harder to make sense out of things. It's harder to arrive at a sense of mental clarity and draw any conclusions from what's been on your mind lately. And the thoughts circling round and round are the ones you've been over a dozen times before. It's frustrating, and that's part of the experience of a Mercury retrograde. And we can all breathe a sigh of relief because this Mercury retrograde has come to a close. Hi, I'm Bella. I'm a Western professional astrologer, and I'm here to empower people and to help them connect with their best potentials by understanding the cycles of life they're going through. And today, I want to cover the Mercury retrograde being done, as well as the Venus retrograde, which is also done at this point. Venus retrograde having finished its backwards seeming cycle on January 29th, and Mercury retrograde being done February 3rd at 11:13 p.m. Eastern Time. And so during those days and on the days following, we're really feeling that effect of the sigh of relief, some things finally coming to a crystal clarity, some things finally coming to a conclusion of some sort. These particular retrogrades, these two have been especially intense because both have connected with Pluto during their retrograde cycle in a powerful way, inviting us into very deep introspections, very deep seeking and diving into what's really going on within us, what our soul calls us towards, what deep transformational changes we need to make internally and eventually externally, but always start within. These retrogrades have both been about clarifying our relationships, clarifying our boundaries, clarifying the things in our lives that need to go, how we do or do not structure things, and how that does or doesn't serve us. With both of those retrogrades connecting with Pluto very strongly, there was that invitation to purge anything that isn't working, and at the very least, to notice what those things might be, even if we're not acting on it just yet. What parts of your life do you feel are unhealthy, perhaps a little bit toxic? Is a mental pattern, a way that you think, or the kind of people that you communicate with or interact with, the kind of relationships you have, which is the domain of Venus. The communicational stuff is the domain of Mercury. Which of these things do you need to have a different strategy about, a different plan for making your life work better in the direction that you want? How are you taking your authority back? These have been questions that have been at the forefront of our minds during these retrogrades of both Venus and Mercury, because both of them at some point have tapped into Capricorn, which has to do with inner authority and inner integrity and building our lives and the ways that we show up solidly as an authority in our lives. And with Mercury, the way we speak. With Venus, the way we relate, the way we are, the way we be, the way we express ourselves in a relational manner, and the kind of relationships we do or don't have, and how we structure them, how we communicate about them to the person and within ourselves. What are our mental processes? These have been important questions, important things that have come up, and of course they've been very, very personal to each of us, because these retrogrades have fallen within a particular area of your personal chart, which is different for every person, activating different parts of our personalities, and sometimes not activating anything. So sometimes when you think, oh, this is not me, that's not what's going on, or you know somebody who's just kind of sailed through, maybe no particular part of their personality or no major part of their personality has been affected by these particular retrogrades, and yours has been. Having said that, there's two of them, and it would be rare if nothing has been affected for you during this time. So now that these retrogrades are over, what can we expect now? Now there are those light bulb moments of clarity. We can finally speak to certain things. We're finally aware enough of what needs to shift, and how, what needs to purge and how. You don't have to have all the answers. I'm not saying we all have all the answers. This is just one of many retrogrades that we will go through in our lifetimes. Mercury goes retrograde 3 times every single year for 3 weeks each. And Venus is a little bit more rare at, I believe, 1.5 years. It's the rarest, or even 2 years. But each one still invites us into this introspection. So I'm not saying you have all the answers. What I am saying is, it's finally time to act on what we've gotten clear on. What is it that you figured out about yourself? There's always something. How can you have the meaningful conversations with others that have to do with that? How do you choose to restructure your life from within, pertaining to the things you've learned? These are the kind of questions that we now have to ask ourselves, as opposed to just being introverted and pondering these things. We have arrived at some answers, even if we couldn't put our finger on them and couldn't put words to them exactly. Now it's much more likely that you are able to put some words to them, and it's finally time to do so, not just within yourself, but out in the 3D external world as well. You don't always have to do something about it. Sometimes the awareness you come to is just something that is personal and doesn't necessarily affect other people. With a Venus retrograde involved, however, it usually affects our interpersonal relationships in some way, shape, or form. Very often having to do with a career and the way we make money. And with the Venus retrograde, we've all been invited to look at how our deep core values need to be brought forward in an authoritative way, meaning self-worth, knowing that here's something you're offering that is of value, that is worthwhile, and therefore knowing what you deserve and when you don't get what you deserve. And I'm not talking about entitled behavior. I'm just talking about like common decency. I'm talking about where our natural boundaries are or are not, where we feel or don't feel that things are working for us personally in our relationships, and where we need to take more responsibility for ourselves, both in how we show up and where our integrity is and where maybe we need to step it up, and what we communicate to another. Somebody can't honor your boundaries if you never speak them. And so we've gotten a chance to look really carefully at these things. These have been intense times. And the invitation now is for you to live that. Live what you figured out. It's such a breath of fresh air to be like, oh, we don't no longer have to circle round and round about these things. But if we don't implement them, we will continue to spin in something unhealthy. So I invite you to make the powerful changes, have the powerful conversations. Even if they don't involve anyone else, give yourself the pep talk. Once you've figured out what is and isn't working for you, implement the things that are working and get rid of some of the things that are not, whatever that may be. It might be a new journaling practice, or the realization that you don't feel so hot because you haven't been taking good care of maybe your physical body, for example. And so you need to maybe have an exercise routine or a meditation routine or something like that, some kind of structure in your life. So whatever you figured out, or sometimes you have those things, but you need to tweak them because you've changed, so the tools need to adapt with you, evolve with you. Whatever you figured out, it's finally time to move forward on those things. It doesn't always have to look like what somebody else thinks or wants. It doesn't have to fit into any box. The whole point here is that you figured out what's right for you. And so now you're there living it, and you're invited to step into that more deeply. Thanks for watching. And if I could be of help to you now or at any other time, please reach out to me at nurtureastrology.com for personal readings and support to bring you into your best potentials. Have a good one.